Okay, it's time to commit. 2024 is the year for prioritizing yourself. Begin your new smile journey with Byte, and you could start seeing results in just 2 to 3 weeks. Just order your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95 at Byte.com. Byte clear liners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer financing options, accept eligible insurance, and you could pay with your HSA, FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room? It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th.
We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
And welcome back to Little Cuts, our weekly mini-sode where we dig into the things that we've been watching recently. I'm Terry.
And I'm Mary Beth. This week we are talking a suspenseful crime thriller, the final season of a badass TV show, a socioeconomic thriller, we play a game, and then we deck the halls with our next aughts remake.
Hell yeah.
Oh my goodness. Very excited to chat about that one.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Before we do get to that, though, what's your suspenseful crime thriller? I'm curious.
Okay, I'm finally on the Mayor of Easttown bandwagon. I have heard amazing things about it. It is a show starring Kate Winslet on HBO Max. It's very much one of those shows where it's like a grizzled lady detective is trying to solve a local murder and she knows everyone and has a real hard life. And, you know, somehow I'm still fucking loving every minute of it. Like, it's very much that kind of show, but it's really good. Kate Winslet's amazing. And somehow they nail the Mid-Atlantic region accent in a way that is shocking. Like, I'm from Baltimore and, you know, Horn, going down to the shore, Horn. Like, that's the kind of accent that a lot of people have, and or like variations of that. And Kate Winslet nails it, which is shocking. So it's really, I started watching it yesterday and I finished it today during work.
Oh, wow.
It's only 5 episodes, but like I could not stop watching it. There's only 7 episodes. It's a limited series, but it's really, really well done.
What's the central mystery?
So the central mystery is that they find a murdered 17-year-old girl in a creek. And a year ago, there was a disappearance of a young girl around the same age. And they're trying to figure out if those 2 crimes are linked. And, you know, there's all the intrigue and the secrets of the town come up, you know, even if they aren't murder suspects, you find out like who has done what and who is cheating on who and who has done all the weird stuff. So it all takes place in a small Pennsylvania town. So everyone knows everyone. And it's very funny because I have a lot of family from that area and they nail the family dynamics of those areas very well in a very terrifying way. And it's not just about, like, it's definitely a crime thriller, but it also is very much a portrait of rural America. Like, not rural, because it's not really rural, but like really suburban America where like the opioid crisis is like ravaging communities and poverty. And so, yeah, there's a lot to do with the murder, but it also looks at like the socioeconomic situation of most Americans in small towns across the country. So it's really well done. It's bleak as fuck and sad, but it's really good. So
I think it was like premiering on Sundays or whatever, because like I kept hearing people talk about it, and it was always in like such hyperbolic terms, and it's been on kind of like my periphery. So I'm glad to hear you liked it.
yeah, it's streaming on HBO Max, and so there's 2 episodes left, and it's on Sundays at 10. So I'm all caught up. So
They've been quietly building like quite a stable of good shows, I have to say.
HBO Max is killing it. And I've been seeing this on Twitter this week where they have a lot of good movies. They have almost all of the Criterion stuff, like the Criterion collection. A lot of the Criterion stuff is on. Like all the old Godzilla movies are on HBO Max.
I did notice that because I wanted to start watching those.
So they have some really good shows, and HBO Max and Apple TV or Apple Plus are just like slowly sneaking up as having some of the best content.
I can't talk about it yet, but Lisey's Story, I'm watching that.
Is that Apple Plus? Because I
think Apple
I saw
TV Plus. Yep, and it's based on the Stephen King novel, and he wrote all the episops. Also,
he wrote all the episodes.
The Clark, the musician that did Daniel Isn't Real, he's doing the soundtrack for the entire. But I can't talk about it yet. Embargoes are up, but that's also coming to Apple TV Plus, and they're slowly building out their stable of shows too.
Very exciting, and I'm finally watching more TV. So finally, okay. But so, what is this socioeconomic thriller that you watch?
Whew, Mary Beth. Whew. Okay, this is a show that or a movie that I do think, based on what I've dug into this director's filmography, I do think that you and Dak should probably cover Michel Franco's work, particularly his new one that is, I believe, out today. I'm not sure if I don't know if it's in theaters only or if it's also on VOD, but it is New Order.
Okay, I have seen trailers and I have heard things, so I'm very excited to hear your thoughts because it looks intense.
It is. Oh God! Like I have been trying to like write my review of it, and I don't even know if my review makes sense. It's a very confronting film, and it's very fucking bleak.
Okay,
and it has it has a very unique aesthetic to it. The color green is very important to it. Okay. It's very stylish, but what it's about is it takes place in Mexico in a high society wedding where they are like trying to prepare for this very expensive, very high profile wedding between two young people while there is political unrest outside because of the socioeconomic like divide between the rich and the poor.
Okay.
And the beginning of it takes place at this wedding, and slowly, not even really slowly, but slowly things start to like kind of come in from the outside where it's like someone shows up with like green paint smeared on their neck that they got attacked while on their way there. There's news reports about the airport having issues and so guests are, not arriving on time. And then it just like explodes. The wedding turns into a fucking bloody disaster. But what's interesting is that that's literally, I thought the entire movie was going to take place at this wedding and it was going to slowly unfold. No, that's the first act. And it ends up with the bride leaving because there's an old servant that hasn't worked for them for 8 years, whose wife is sick and he needs money and no one in the family wants to give him money. So she like literally leaves to go take money and go to him to save him or to get him money so that he can save his wife. And while that's happening, the house turns into chaos. She gets kidnapped. And then it literally goes from there and gets more bleak, more disturbing, and more fucked up than a movie that I have probably seen in a very long time. And this is a very divisive film. I've seen people absolutely hate it, and I've seen people absolutely love it. I think it's pretty fucking fantastic. And it is one of the most nihilistic films I've seen in a very long time about how terrible humanity really is.
Oh boy, I'm so excited. That's my favorite. And my movie theater is opening up this weekend and they have New Order playing. So maybe I will go see that one.
I really recommend it. I know some people have really, really hate this movie, but man, it's a movie I never want to see again, I don't think. But like, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since I saw it. It's fucked up.
So I looked at the director And the first movie, his first full-length feature film, is called Daniel and Anna, who are two siblings and best friends who are forced to deal with trauma after they are kidnapped and forced to have sex on camera.
Oh, Jesus.
So I guess that gives me a vibe about this dude. And
yes,
that's your first feature film? Okay.
Yes, and I've heard a lot, like, I've never seen it, but I've heard people talk about After Lucia, which I think was his second feature. And then he did a movie that's kind of about the healthcare crisis. So, like, he has a very political-minded eye, and I think his films probably represent that from the little searching that I've done on him. So I do think he might be a director of those types of watch once, never again type films.
Cool.
And this one's definitely, Jesus Christ.
Hell yeah. I'm excited.
Like,
aghast. Oh my God. What if that's my first movie on the big screen after over a year? Oh, that's actually...
I think you should do it, because I really want to hear your thoughts on it. So I'm pretty sure I know what this badass show is, but I also am very curious about it, because if it's the show I'm thinking about, I've only seen the first season of, so I'm curious.
Castlevania season 4, the best show ever to happen. It's not just because I'm sexually attracted to every character in the show, I swear to God.
I mean, fair.
Okay, so season 4 of Netflix's Castlevania came out last week. I watched it in 2 days. It is one of the best television series endings I've ever seen.
Really?
Series finales are always so like, ugh, I feel like we've had more bad than good series finales. Looking at you, Game of Thrones, holy shit. But this one, like the way in 20-minute episodes, the show is able to tie up the story arcs for every character in such a satisfying way is just like so beautiful and good and sweet and good to my heart, because I love the show. It is so beautifully written. It is so beautifully animated. And, you know, this is a movie about blood and monsters and vampire hunting, and yet it has some of the most empathetic and lovable characters, which is something that I never expected in watching an adaptation of the Konami video game property Castlevania.
I mean...
What this show does from what it is based on is so amazing, and how it makes this trio of characters, Trevor Belmont, Sypha Belnadis, and Alucard, who is Dracula's son. The show also does this really good job of making Dracula both a villain and a sympathetic character in a really fascinating way. And so the final season really does justice to the entire series as a whole and what makes that series so special. And they take a lot of risks in terms of animation style. They get a little bit more abstract with the animation style, which I think really shows the evolution of Powerhouse Animation. So they're much more confident in, it feels like there's more confidence in the animation and that they're willing to go a little bit more abstract. And it really pays off in some of these final battle sequences. Episode 6 is one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen.
I think I saw you tweet about that.
I did, because it's very good. And they're apparently going to do spin-off series in the world of Castlevania, but not these storylines. And they definitely set it up that way, where all of the storylines of these characters are tied up very nicely, and then it does leave room for possibilities. So I'm excited to see what else they might make in that world. But Castlevania season 4 was chef's kiss, delightful.
Is this a show that gets better with each season? Because I remember I saw the first season when it first came out. I remember I watched, I think, in one night, because I think it was a shorter season from what I remember.
Yeah, it was 4 episodes.
Yeah, and I remember enjoying it, but I wasn't like sold on it initially.
So I was sold on it initially, but also the seasons get more complex with the characters and like the intrigue.
Okay.
There's some really cool dynamics that go in, like that develop and grow with each season. So I would at least try the second season, because it's longer and it starts delving more into like the hierarchy of vampires and more complicated relationships. And I think the characters really start growing. I think the first season kind of felt more like a proof of concept in a way, like, hey, this is the world, these are the characters. And then with the subsequent seasons, it's really like dives into character development and you fall in love with everybody. It's just like, it's a show that I never thought would make me cry and like emotional. It's just so good.
Okay, good. Because, yeah, I remember watching it and thinking, oh, okay, that was fine. And it might be just because it was only literally 4 episodes. And they are short because they're like, 20 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
So and maybe that was the reason. It didn't, I don't know, it didn't grab me the way I was hoping it would. So I need to give it another chance.
Yeah, I would at least try to start season 2. And if it doesn't grab you, then maybe it's not for you. But it definitely gets more in depth, and they're longer seasons. It's not 10 episodes, but still.
Yeah.
So
no, I mean, that's perfect.
It's perfect a bit. It's like the perfect weekend watching show.
Awesome.
So, all right. Again, I think I know what this game is, but what game?
I finally got to see a movie in the movie theater after, because the previous one that I went to see was a double feature of Invisible Man in the Lodge back in February of 2020.
You did that. It's like, ooh.
Talk about, depressing end of the last movie I saw in the movie theater. So I took a little bit of time off of work on Friday, and I was like, I'm going to go see this movie. And it's aggressively fine.
What's the movie called again, Terry?
Oh, shit. Hello. I went to go see Spiral from the Book of Saw. I have this horrible tendency of being like, you're in my brain.
Yeah,
you
know
what I'm talking about. Yeah, no, I went to go see Spiral, and it's aggressively fine.
Okay. It's funny because the reactions on Twitter have been either like, this is fucking trash, or this is so good. I'm like, wow, I should have expected it, but I didn't necessarily expect it to be that divisive.
Yeah, I do wonder what some people were watching. I mean, okay, honestly, not the hugest Saw fan. Like, I enjoyed the first 3, I think, and I saw the 4th one and I thought, okay, this is fine. The 5th one was when I was like, I tapped out once they introduced like the new villain, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of done with this. And I don't think I've seen any of the other ones other than the first 5.
Yeah, I haven't really seen any of the other ones either. I think I only really remember 1 and 2. I just didn't care. Like, I just was not. I liked the first one. The second one, I wanted to die just because of the needle pit scene, and I never wanted to watch another Saw movie ever again. I own all 8 of them.
So do I.
What the fuck? Like, we're so weird. Like, horror fans are a fucking weird ass breed of people who are like, I've never seen these movies and I probably don't like them, but I own the special collection, like special edition collector set on my shelf.
The only reason I own all 8 of them was because they had that 8 Blu-ray set that was like Amazon was selling for like $15, like it was on sale. And I'm like, I could buy it for $15 because you also get the digital copies. I'm like, all right. Sold.
That's actually also what I buy. I saw it at Target one day, one of those Target buys where I was like, fuck it, why not?
Why not? Haven't watched any of the other ones, but okay. So I think the traps in this are really good. They really made me cringe.
Ooh.
There's one involving fingers that like I was like sitting there with like on my face like the entire time. So from a trap perspective, I think there's a couple really good ones that really made me squirm. Whenever I think of Saw, I think of surprising endings.
Okay.
And I literally picked the killer out the first moment they're introduced. And then later, about like halfway through the film, I was like, oh, yep, it's obviously this person. And this is probably the reason why. And so when the killer is revealed at the very end, it was so matter-of-factly. It wasn't even like a really well done, like shocking moment. I'm like, yep, okay, I know what's happening now. And it was fine. I really wanted it to be really good. And Chris Rock, I don't think this is his best performance. I feel like he's doing a lot of eye acting. There's a lot of shots and he's like, his eyes are like really wide, or he's like, his eyes are, there's just a lot of like, he expresses so much with his eyes that, and then he's shouting the rest of the time. And I feel like it's trying to go back to the roots of the more like noir-ish first one, because it's like the detective and stuff. But like, I think Josh Stolberg is a really nice person. I don't know Pete Goldfinger, the 2 writers, but I feel like they've never seen a detective movie before. Because the moment Chris Rock introduces, he like storms into the police department, he goes, talks to his captain, and the captain starts berating him like, "You're a lone wolf, you're blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, okay, are we in any like crime movie that we've ever seen? Because literally it's the captain yelling at the main character for being a loose cannon. And I'm like,
oh my God.
Okay, I literally started laughing, and I don't know if it was maybe on purpose. Like, it didn't feel like it was done.
Cannon.
Seriously. I'm like, okay, this is like any other detective movie that happened maybe 30, 40 years ago, and we're still using this trope. Yeah.
Okay.
It was aggressively fine.
Okay. I still want to see it, just because.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. It's a continuation of it. I'm curious to see where the story's going to go from here. Yeah.
That's it? All right.
That's it. Now, who? What are we talking about from the early aughts, Mary Beth?
We are talking about Glenn Morgan's Black Xmas from 2006. 2006.
Yep.
2006. I have finally watched all 3 Black Christmas movies, everyone. Wow, wow, wee, wow, wow.
Where do we even start with this one?
So the first thing I want to say is that on Letterboxd, I gave this 3 stars, which is generous. The people who gave it 4 to 5 stars and saying that this was almost better than the original, I just want to talk.
No.
And they were like, this is such a good movie. I'm like, what? I just want to talk. I don't think I watched the same movie as some of these people, I swear to God. And I didn't even hate it. I just sort of thought it was stupid. But anyway, Black Christmas.
You know, my thought about this movie is the same thought that I have about Nightmare on Elm Street. If you were going to the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, if you were going to do a scene that is a direct remake of a scene in the original, you goddamn better bring it and do something interesting. And the classic scene in the original where the sorority sisters get a phone call that's obscene, this one is so terrible.
Right? Like, come on now. Like, did you not listen to the one in the original 1974 Black Christmas where he says things like cunt and is like whispering to himself, and it is genuinely disturbing?
Disturbing as fuck.
And you're like,
this one, it's like,
it's creepy, but it's not like,
I didn't even think it was creepy.
I was just like, yeah, it's kind of weird, but it didn't evoke the same feeling of like danger that the calls did in the first one. And like this movie, it's so weird because I feel like it both tries to be a direct like adaptation and not at the same time. Like there's a lot of homages. There's the glass unicorn head that's used as a weapon. There's the eye through the hole a few times. And I'm like, you guys can't do, it's not happening. Like it's just not happening.
It's like they're like, you remember the eye in the first one? Well, I know everyone thought that was creepy. We're just gonna have anytime there's a hole in the wall, we're just gonna have like an eye pressed up against it, like literally
6
all the
different
fucking
times.
time.
And like there's a Barb, there's no Barb, but there's a Barb-esque character, and she gets killed in the same way. And, you know, I appreciate the attempt at these homages, but the most egregious thing in this movie is the backstory about Billy. It is horrific, ableist, incestual.
I forgot about that part. And when his mother is like riding the passed out guy, and then he can't get it up because he's passed out, and she like looks up at the attic, I was like, no, I completely forgot about that. I completely forgot about the Christmas cookies made out of back flesh.
Oh, okay, that was pretty cool though.
Which I was talking with Joe Lipsett last night about it, and he's like, yeah, it didn't really bother me because once you realize that it's just back jerky, and I was like, Joe, back jerky.
When he dips it in the milk, and I was like, like this, like the backstory is terrible. Regardless, besides that, the cookie cutter thing, that was pretty rad, but we could have done that without the whole backstory. I think the best part about Billy is not knowing anything about him. Like that's what makes him so scary. Is like, who is this guy? What happened? We don't need the backstory. it just feels boring and egregious. And he's yellow. Like he has a yellow skin condition for no reason other than he just looks like fucking Homer Simpson.
Yeah, okay. I think honestly for me, the backstory was probably my favorite part because it was so like, what the fuck is even happening? But the problem is that they would have been better served if they had started out with that and it was like a cold open and they had, reduced it to like a 10-minute cold open instead of like, we're in the middle of the story and we're learning about we haven't even really learned about the girls and they just keep stopping what they're doing to give a backstory information dump. And I'm like, you're really kind of cutting into the pacing of this film because it felt longer than its 90 some odd minutes. It
definitely does.
It takes forever to get going.
It does, but like, okay, because this is how I felt about House of Wax, that it felt like it took a while to get going, but then once it's going, like those kills are brutal as fuck. Like there's some good shit in this movie though. Like the line reads are very cheesy. This is very much what I think of when I think of an aughts horror, like kind of cheesy, like annoyingly sexual, like kind of makes women look stupid. And then has, well, some of the women, this one's a little bit better about making like the sorority sisters be a little bit more like.
Although I will say that I don't believe that they're sorority sisters because they are literally the cattiest, most at each other's throat. They act like they hate each other.
Their sisters, Terry. I mean, I swear to God, every time that they're like, we don't have a sister. Yes, I do have a sister. It's like, shut the fuck up. There's like none of that. There's been no like bonding, caring.
No,
like everyone hates each other.
It's like they were like, everyone really liked Barb and her cantankerous nature from the first one. Let's just have everyone be that kind of, cantankerous person, but then not give them any like heart. I could not relate to any of the characters because like none of these characters none of them are real people. They didn't feel real. And the fact that they were supposed to be a sisterhood just like really, they're not.
Well, and also, you know how you can usually like tap who the final girl is like pretty quickly? I couldn't. I didn't
really?
I wasn't able to like figure it out at first because I was like, I don't know who any of these fucking people are.
Yeah.
Like they all just felt very shallow. And I was like, oh, is Michelle Trachtenberg going to be the final girl? Like I seriously could not like figure out who it was. Maybe that's on me, but none of these characters were given any depth whatsoever.
Well, and what drives me nuts is that you have what a cast.
Oh my
Katie
God,
Cassidy,
right?
Michelle Trachtenberg, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Gretchen from Mean Girls, like Andrea Martin, like the cast.
It's a great cast. That's the thing that bothered me. It was a great cast, and it felt so squandered to have like a Mary Elizabeth Winstead say a couple lines with a shitty Southern accent, and then have
God, that accent.
Lacey Chavert smoke a cigarette and then get killed immediately, and then Michelle Trachtenberg have like one line and then get her face shaved off with an ice skate. Like that was frustrating to me. I was like, oh, I thought we were gonna have some depth a little bit because like I feel like in both the original and the 2019 movie, we get to know the characters. Like we know who they are, and
they seem like they like each other.
Yes, they're friends.
I know I keep harping on this, but like,
yeah,
I do not believe that these people could live together.
That's half the thing in the 1974 Black Christmas is like they all like each other, and it's even more devastating because they're all such close friends, and that like despite Barb being like kind of a bitch, everyone loves her.
She's loved.
Like she's loved, and then she has more to her than being a bitch, and like everyone knows each other and cares for one another. It isn't like, oh, come get your present under the Christmas tree, and like treating everyone like the girl
do we
who
have to do this?
The girl with the thick glasses and treating her like she's some kind of pariah because she's got thick glasses and she's a little bit weird. I was like, come on, but like. There's a lot of issues, but the kills were so good, and like some like the ending, like some of the parts were just so entertaining that I did enjoy it. But boy, oh boy, it's a hot mess express.
I'll tell you the part that really bothered me though, and I didn't realize at the first viewing, but the fact that Agnes is played by a guy.
Oh my God. I was like, is this going to be some weird thing where Billy is dressing up as his sister? No. It's so fucked up.
It really kind of leans into the man in a dress, trans trope in Killers, even though the character is not trans. It's leaning into that. And I'm just like, it's gross.
Like, what a weird thing to do. Like, oh yeah, we're going to have Agnes played by a dude. Why? Because it's fucked up. And it's like, you already are playing with ableism and inbreeding and incest, like forced incest and sexual assault, and now you're going to have Agnes played by a man to like somehow add to the horror,
to other the character even more.
Like, because it's like when they were showing Agnes as a kid, she had some facial deformities, obviously to be like, look, she's inbred.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was a very strange early aughts themed choice there to just be like, let's just do this and just be even more fucked up. And it's like, what? There's no purpose other than to ostracize and other.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Oof. It's a movie. It made some choices.
It definitely did. And I remember before I watched this that Joe had said, you're going to remember it exactly as you saw, something to the effect of like, how you remember it is how you're going to watch it. And it's true. The moment I sat down, I was like, okay, maybe I'll be able to reapprise this, 15 years later and I'll like it. No. No.
Like the kills were cool. Thought there was some really cool creative shit with that. I'm gonna say it. I think that the 2019 film is more in the spirit of the original than this one. 100% more in the spirit. Yeah. So, the Christmas spirit. Anyway, so yeah, that was definitely not a 3 for 3 situation.
Choices, the movie.
Choices. We're definitely not 3 for 3.
No.
Nah.
But I do think we're going to have an uptick next week, because what are we watching for our next aughts remake journey, Mary Beth?
We are watching the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2003.
Mm-hmm.
I have
sweaty movie.
Sweaty. I have not seen this in forever. I barely remember it, so I'm excited to revisit.
Yeah, I am too. I think I watched it like a year or so ago, and I think it's really good. So I'm excited to revisit it again.
Okay, so then who are we talking to on Monday, Terry?
We are talking to Zach Lamplugh, and he is the director of 15 Things You Didn't Know About Bigfoot. Number 1 will blow your mind, which is a clickbait mockumentary film about Bigfoot, and it's a really funny film. It's out currently on VOD, so if you haven't watched it yet, it's one that both Mary Beth and I saw out of Chattanooga in 2020 last year, and we've both been fans of it since then. So I'm excited to talk to him, and I'm so excited about the movie choice that he brought with him, because y'all, we're finally talking Alien.
Fucking finally. It's very exciting. Very, very exciting. And I get to talk about Bigfoot. Wait. So
always good.
Always good. All right, listeners, you've heard from us, but we want to hear from you. Did you watch a film or a show that we watched this week and have some thoughts? Do you have any early aughts suggestions? Send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us directly on Twitter. I am at MB McAndrews.
And I'm McGailey Dreadful.
And of course, don't forget to follow the podcast on Twitter at Scarred Podcast.
And please don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe.
Thank you to Eric Power for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you everyone for listening. Please stay safe out there, but most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time.
Somebody please think of the children. Somebody please think of the children. Somebody please think of the children.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room?
It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th. We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.